Blood exploded from Marcus Cole's shoulder the instant the bullet tore through his flesh. His wheelchair crashed sideways, his broken body slamming against the dirty bar floor. But he didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just looked up at the 19-year-old girl he'd thrown himself in front of and whispered, "Run." She didn't run. She dropped to her knees, pressing her hands against the hole in his body, sobbing, "Why? Why would you do that? You don't even know me." He couldn't answer. The darkness was already pulling him under. 3 days later, 1,600 Hell's Angels surrounded his hospital bed, and every single one of them was crying. If you want to know why, subscribe to my channel and follow this story to the very end. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story has traveled. Marcus Cole gripped the wheels of his chair so hard his knuckles turned white. "You need something else, son?" Charlie, the bartender, was already reaching for the coffee pot. Same question he asked every Thursday night. Same tired kindness in his voice. "I'm fine, Charlie." "You sure? You've been staring at that door like you're expecting trouble." Marcus forced his hands to relax. "Just watching the world go by." Charlie poured the coffee anyway, even though Marcus hadn't asked. "World's got a way of going by whether we watch it or not. You know that better than most." Yeah, Marcus knew. 3 years ago, he'd been the one doing the going. 22 years old, working at his uncle's auto shop in Houston, saving every penny for his own garage. He could diagnose any engine problem just by listening. People said he had magic hands. His uncle said he had a future. Then a drunk driver ran a red light doing 80, and Marcus's future ended up crushed against a dashboard along with both his legs. "You're doing that thing again," Charlie said. "What thing?" "That thing where you disappear inside your own head and forget there's people around you who give a damn." Marcus looked up. Charlie's face was worn like old leather, creased with decades of serving drinks to people who didn't want to go home. But his eyes were sharp. Always had been. "I'm here, Charlie. Your body's here. Rest of you is somewhere else." Charlie set down the coffee pot. "You know what I think? I'm sure you're going to tell me. I think you've been waiting for something, ever since you started coming in here 2 years ago, sitting in that same corner, watching that same door, like you're expecting someone to walk through it and change everything." Marcus didn't answer, because Charlie was right, and Marcus hated when Charlie was right. The front door banged open. Marcus's head snapped up. His hands found the wheels of his chair before his brain even registered what he was doing. 8 men walked in. No, not walked. Owned. They owned every step, every inch of floor, every molecule of air in Red Dog Saloon. Leather jackets, patches, the death's head symbol that Marcus had seen in news stories and crime documentaries and the nightmares of small-town sheriffs. Hell's Angels. "Well, damn," Charlie muttered. Thursday just got interesting. The man in front was massive, 6'4", maybe 6'5", with a gray beard that reached his chest, and arms covered in tattoos that told stories Marcus couldn't read. His voice boomed across the bar when he laughed, the kind of laugh that made you want to join in, even if you didn't know the joke. But Marcus wasn't looking at him. He was looking at the girl. She was maybe 19 or 20, with light brown hair pulled back under a black bandana. She walked beside the big man, tucked under his arm like she belonged there, like his massive body was the safest place in the world. And she was smiling. Not the fake smile people wore when they were uncomfortable, not the polite smile you gave strangers. A real smile. The kind that came from somewhere deep inside, from a place that still believed the world was good. "Dad, you promised me a burger," she said, her voice carrying across the room. "You said Red Dog has the best burgers in Texas." "I said one of the best," the big man corrected. "Don't go putting words in my mouth, Emma." "You definitely said the best. I have witnesses." She turned to one of the other bikers. "Uncle Ray, didn't he say the best?" The biker, a wiry man with a shaved head and a scar running down his cheek, held up his hands. "I'm not getting in the middle of this." "Coward." "Smart. There's a difference." Emma laughed, and something in Marcus's chest twisted. He remembered that sound. Not from her. He'd never seen her before in his life. But from before. From when he was whole. From when laughing came easy and the future stretched out ahead like an open road. "You're staring, son." Marcus jerked. Charlie had appeared beside his table without making a sound. A skill bartenders developed after decades of practice. "I wasn't." "You were. Can't blame you, she's pretty. But that's Bull Harrison's daughter." The name hit Marcus like a punch. Even in Redwater, 40 miles from nowhere, people knew that name. William Bull Harrison, president of the local Hells Angels chapter. The kind of man who had probably done things that would keep Marcus awake at night if he knew the details. "I wasn't staring like that," Marcus said. "I was just what?" Marcus didn't have an answer. He'd been watching her laugh, watching her smile, watching the way Bull looked at her, like she was the most precious thing in the world, like he'd burn down cities and tear apart mountains to keep her safe. Marcus's own father had left when he was 7, walked out the door one morning and never came back. No explanation, no goodbye, just gone. "She looks happy," Marcus finally said. "That's all. She looks happy." Charlie studied him for a long moment. "You know what I see when I look at you, Marcus Cole? A guy in a wheelchair drinking cold coffee? I see a man who forgot that he's allowed to be happy too." Before Marcus could respond, Charlie walked away. Back behind the bar, back to his bottles and his glasses, and his quiet observations about people who didn't want to be observed. Marcus turned back to his coffee, but his eyes kept drifting. Bull Harrison was telling a story now, his hands moving as he talked, his voice rising and falling like music. The other bikers were listening, laughing in the right places, nodding along. Emma was perched on a bar stool beside him, stealing peanuts from a bowl, completely at ease. This was her family. These hard men with their leather and their patches and their dangerous reputations. They would die for her. Marcus could see it in the way they positioned themselves around her, always aware of where she was, always ready to move if something went wrong. Must be nice, Marcus thought. Must be nice to have people like that. His phone buzzed. He glanced down. A text from his mother. "Are you eating enough? You never answer my calls." He typed back, "I'm fine, Mom. Just busy." The lie came easy. It always did. He wasn't fine. He hadn't been fine in 3 years. But his mother worried enough already. She'd moved to Florida after the accident, said she needed sunshine. But Marcus knew the truth. She couldn't look at him without crying. Couldn't see the wheelchair without remembering the son she used to have. The one who could walk and run and dance. So she left, just like everyone else. "Hey, you. Yeah, you in the chair." Marcus's head snapped up. One of the Hells Angels was walking toward him. Big guy, not as big as Bull, but solid. Tattoos crawling up his neck, eyes that had seen things. Marcus's heart started pounding. "Yeah?" The biker stopped in front of his table, looked down at him, didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, "You're in my spot." "What?" "This booth, it's my spot. I sit here every Thursday." Marcus felt his face flush. "I didn't know. I'll move." The biker burst out laughing. "I'm messing with you, man. I've never been in this bar before in my life." He slid into the booth across from Marcus without asking permission. "Name's Tiny." "Tiny?" "Yeah, I know. Parents had a sense of humor." Tiny grinned. "You look like you're about to pass out. Relax. I don't bite." "I wasn't." "You were. Everyone does the first time they meet us. Think we're going to steal their wallets or burn down their houses or whatever." Tiny shrugged. "We're just people, man. Weird people, maybe, but people." Marcus didn't know what to say. In the 2 years he'd been coming to Red Dog, no one had ever sat with him. Not once. People nodded. People said hello. But nobody sat down and talked like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You got a name?" Tiny asked. "Marcus. Marcus Cole." Marcus Cole. Tiny rolled the name around like he was tasting it. Good name. Strong. What do you do, Marcus Cole? Marcus hesitated. Nothing really. I used to be a mechanic. Used to be? Marcus gestured at his wheelchair. Didn't feel like explaining. Never did. But Tiny just nodded. Accident? Drunk driver. 3 years ago. That sucks. No pity. No sad eyes. No, I'm so sorry for your loss. Delivered in that voice people use for funerals and hospital rooms. Just, that sucks. It was the most honest response Marcus had gotten in 3 years. Yeah, he said, it does. You work on bikes or just cars? Both. Anything with an engine, really. Marcus stopped himself. I could do pretty much anything. Could? Can't exactly work on engines from a wheelchair. Tiny raised an eyebrow. Why not? What do you mean, why not? Have you ever tried to get under a car when you can't use your legs? So don't get under it. Get a lift. Get a rolling stool. Get creative. Tiny leaned forward. I knew a guy once, lost both his arms in a factory accident. You know what he does now? What? Paints, with his feet. His stuff sells for thousands of dollars. Has a gallery showing next month in Austin. Tiny shrugged. Point is, you lose one thing, you find another. That's just life, man. Marcus stared at him. You don't know anything about me. I know you're sitting alone in a corner feeling sorry for yourself while life happens around you. I know you've got hands that could probably build something beautiful if you stop making excuses. Tiny stood up. I also know that the way you were looking at Bull's daughter, you're not as dead inside as you're pretending to be. Marcus's face went hot. I wasn't. Relax, I'm not going to tell him. But word of advice? Tiny leaned down, his voice dropping. Bull Harrison would die for that girl. Kill for her too. Remember that. He walked away before Marcus could respond. Marcus sat there, heart pounding, mind racing. The coffee in front of him had gone cold again. The jukebox was playing something old and sad. And across the room, Emma Harrison was laughing at another joke, completely unaware that a stranger in a wheelchair had been watching her all night. Then the front door opened again, and everything changed. 3 men walked in. Different patches, different colors, eyes that weren't looking for drinks, they were looking for trouble. Marcus recognized the type. He'd seen it before, in the emergency room after his accident, in the faces of the men who'd caused the crash. That particular kind of anger that came from people who wanted to hurt something and didn't care what. The Hells Angels noticed too. Their laughter died. Their bodies shifted. Bull's arm moved away from Emma's shoulders, his hand dropping to rest on the bar. Dad? Emma's voice had changed. She'd felt it too. Dad, what's wrong? Nothing, baby, just eat your burger. But she wasn't eating. She was watching the 3 men who'd just walked through the door, watching them walk closer, watching their eyes find her father. Well, well, well. The lead man stopped 10 feet from the bar, blonde hair buzzed short, face scarred from something bad, smile that didn't reach his eyes. Bull Harrison, fancy meeting you here. Bull didn't turn around. Snake. That any way to greet an old friend? We're not friends. Snake laughed, cold, sharp, the kind of laugh that made your skin crawl. No, I guess we're not. Not after what you did to my brother. The air in the bar went solid. Marcus could feel it pressing against his chest, making it hard to breathe. The other patrons had gone quiet. Even Charlie had stopped moving behind the bar. Your brother made his own choices, Bull said, still not turning, still not looking. Bad ones. My brother's dead. Like I said, bad choices. Snake's hand moved toward his belt. Marcus saw it. Saw the gun tucked there, barely hidden. Dad, Emma's voice was shaking now. Dad, please. Stay behind me, Emma. I don't want to stay behind you. I want to leave. Can we please just leave? Bull finally turned. His face was stone. No fear, no anger, just cold, calculated readiness. We're not leaving, baby. We're not running from trash like this. Snake's smile widened. Trash? That's funny coming from you. Coming from the man who had my brother killed over a drug deal gone wrong. I didn't have anyone killed. Liar. I'm a lot of things, Snake, but I've never been a liar. The two men stared at each other. Marcus could feel the violence building, could taste it in the air like copper and smoke. One of the other iron wolves, a heavy-set guy with dead eyes, stepped to the side. Moving into position, Marcus saw it, saw the angle, saw where he was heading, behind Emma. They weren't here for Bull. The realization hit Marcus like ice water. They weren't here to fight Bull Harrison man-to-man. They were here to hurt him the only way that mattered, through his daughter. Marcus's hands found his wheels. His heart was pounding so loud he could barely think. Every instinct screamed at him to stay still, to stay invisible, to let the people with guns and leather and decades of violence handle their own problems. But Emma was crying now, silent tears running down her cheeks as she pressed against her father's back. And she looked exactly like Marcus's little sister had looked 15 years ago, hiding behind their mother while their father screamed and threw things. That little sister was grown now, married, living somewhere in Oregon. She'd sent Marcus a card after the accident, a single line, "I'm sorry." Nothing else. No phone calls, no visits. He was alone. Emma Harrison wasn't alone. She had a father who would die for her, brothers in leather who would kill for her. But right now, none of them were looking at the guy moving behind her. None of them except Marcus. "Here's what's going to happen," Snake said, drawing his gun slowly, making sure everyone could see it. "I'm going to walk out of here, and your precious little girl is going to walk out with me." Bull's whole body went rigid. "You touch her and You'll what? Pull out your piece? Start shooting? How many innocent people you want to catch in the crossfire?" Snake gestured at the bar. "Old man behind the counter, the lady in the booth, the cripple in the corner. You willing to watch them die for your pride?" Marcus flinched at the word. Cripple. He'd heard it before, lots of times. It never stopped hurting. "Let the girl go," Bull said. "This is between us." "No, this is about pain. You took something from me. Now I'm going to take something from you." Snake wasn't looking at Marcus. None of them were. To everyone in that bar, Marcus Cole was invisible. A cripple in a corner, not a threat, not even a person, just furniture. The heavy-set iron wolf was 3 steps from Emma now. His hand was moving to his belt. Marcus had maybe 10 seconds. He could stay still, stay invisible, watch whatever was going to happen and tell himself there was nothing he could have done. He was just a man in a wheelchair, just a broken thing that used to be whole. Or, his hands tightened on his wheels. 3 years of feeling useless. 3 years of watching life happen around him. 3 years of telling himself the accident had taken everything. His legs, his future, his purpose. But it hadn't taken his hands, hadn't taken his arms, hadn't taken the strength he'd built pushing himself up ramps and curbs and through doorways that weren't made for wheels. The heavy-set man was 2 steps away now. Marcus moved. He shoved his wheelchair forward so hard the wheel screamed against the floor. Everyone's head turned at the sound. Snake, Bull, Emma, the other bikers. Time slowed down to syrup. Marcus saw Snake's gun swinging toward him, saw the confusion on Bull's face, saw Emma's eyes go wide as this stranger in a wheelchair came flying across the bar toward her. He hit the heavy-set man at full speed, 200 pounds of wheelchair and determination slamming into an iron wolf who hadn't expected an attack from the invisible man in the corner. They went down together. The gun flew from the man's hand, skittering across the floor. Marcus crashed on top of him, his wheelchair tipping, his body falling. The shot came. Loud, so loud, the kind of sound that erases everything else. Pain exploded in Marcus's shoulder, hot and wet and wrong. He'd never been shot before, But somehow he'd always known it would feel like this, like someone had reached inside him and ripped something loose. He heard screaming, maybe Emma, maybe himself. He couldn't tell anymore. More shots, Bull's voice roaring, bodies moving, chaos erupting around him like a bomb had gone off. But Marcus couldn't move. He was lying on the sticky floor of Red Dog's saloon, bleeding from a hole in his shoulder, staring at the ceiling tiles and wondering if this was how his story ended. Then a face appeared above him, light brown hair, blue eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God!" Emma's hands were pressing against his shoulder, trying to stop the blood that kept pumping out with every beat of his heart. "Stay with me. Hey, stay with me." "Is he?" Marcus tried to talk. Blood in his mouth, bad sign. "Is the guy?" "Don't talk. Please don't talk." "Did I?" He coughed. Pain ripped through him. "Did I stop him?" Emma was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. "You saved me, you stupid, crazy, brave. You saved my life. Why would you do that? You don't even know me." Marcus wanted to tell her, wanted to explain about his sister and his father, in the 3 years of feeling like nothing he did would ever matter again. But the words wouldn't come. The darkness was pulling at him, soft and warm and seductive. "Emma, move." Bull's face replaced hers, hard and scarred and terrifying, but wet. Tears on this man's face who probably hadn't cried in 30 years. "Look at me, kid. You look at me right now." Marcus tried, but the darkness was so heavy. "Don't you die. You hear me? Don't you dare die. That's my daughter you saved. That's my whole world." Bull's voice cracked. "You're not dying in this bar. Not today. Not for her." Sirens in the distance, getting closer, but also getting quieter. Everything getting quieter. "His name," Marcus heard Emma say, somewhere far away. "What's his name? He saved my life and I don't even know his name." The last thing Marcus felt before the darkness took him was a hand grabbing his, rough and calloused and strong, Bull Harrison's hand. "You hold on, brother," Bull whispered. "You hold on, because when you wake up, everything's going to be different." Then there was nothing. The first thing Marcus heard was beeping, steady, rhythmic, the kind of sound that meant machines were keeping you alive when your body had forgotten how. He tried to open his eyes, failed, tried again. The light was too bright, stabbing through his eyelids like needles. "He's waking up," a woman's voice, not Emma's, older, professional. "Mr. Cole, can you hear me? I need you to squeeze my hand if you can hear me." Something warm wrapped around his fingers. Marcus squeezed, or tried to. His body felt like it belonged to someone else. "Good, that's good. You're in Redwater General Hospital. You've been unconscious for 14 hours. You were shot in the left shoulder. The bullet missed your arteries, missed your lung. You're going to be okay." Okay. The word felt foreign. Marcus hadn't been okay in 3 years. "There are some people here who've been waiting to see you. They haven't left since you came in. Are you up for visitors?" Marcus forced his eyes open. The room swam into focus slowly. White walls, white ceiling, machines with blinking lights. A nurse stood beside his bed, middle-aged, tired eyes, but kind. "Who?" His voice came out like sandpaper on gravel. The nurse smiled. "Half the Hells Angels chapter, from what I can tell. But there's a young woman who's been crying in the hallway for hours. I think she'd like to see you first." Emma. The name brought everything back. The bar, the gun, the wheelchair flying across the floor, the bullet that should have killed him. "Yeah," Marcus whispered. "Okay." The nurse left. For a moment, Marcus was alone with the beeping machines and the pain that was starting to creep through whatever drugs they'd given him. Then the door opened. Emma Harrison looked like she hadn't slept. Her hair was tangled, her eyes red and swollen, her clothes still stained with something dark that Marcus realized was his blood. She stood in the doorway like she was afraid to come closer. "Hi," she said. Hi. You're awake. Apparently. She laughed. It was a broken sound, half sob, half relief. That's not funny. Wasn't trying to be funny. Emma crossed the room in 3 quick steps and then stopped at the edge of his bed, her hands twisting together like she didn't know what to do with them. I don't, she took a breath, started again. I don't know what to say to you. I've been practicing in my head for 14 hours and I still don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Yes, I do. You almost died. For me, a stranger, you threw yourself in front of a bullet for someone you'd never even talked to. Her voice cracked. Why would you do that? Marcus thought about the question. He'd been asking himself the same thing in those final seconds before the darkness took him. I saw the guy moving behind you, he said finally. Nobody else did. I just moved. That's it? You just moved? I didn't think about it, didn't plan it. I just saw you were in danger, and my body did something about it before my brain caught up. Emma stared at him. Tears were running down her cheeks again, and she wiped at them angrily. I hate crying, she said. I've cried more in the last 14 hours than I have in the last 5 years combined. My dad keeps telling me to stop, but I can't. It's okay to cry. It's not. It's weak. And I'm not weak. You're not weak because you cry. You're human. Marcus shifted, wincing as pain shot through his shoulder. I cried every day for a month after my accident. Thought I was done being a man. Took me a long time to figure out that tears don't make you less. Emma sat down in the chair beside his bed. The chair that had a leather jacket draped over it. Hell's Angels patches visible even in the dim light. My dad left that for you, she said, noticing where Marcus was looking. He said you earned it. I don't know what that means exactly. I've never seen him give anyone his jacket before. I can't take that. You don't have a choice. He'll be offended if you don't. I'm not a Hell's Angel. You are now. Emma's voice was quiet but firm. That's what he said. He's one of us now. I've never heard him say that about anyone outside the club. Not once. Marcus didn't know how to respond. His whole life he'd been nobody special. A mechanic, a son, a brother who drifted away from everyone who should have mattered. And now he was lying in a hospital bed with a bullet hole in his shoulder, being told he was family by people who lived by codes he didn't understand. The guy who shot me, he said. Snake. What happened to him? Emma's face went hard. My dad handled it. What does that mean? It means you don't need to worry about him anymore. It means Snake Martinez will never hurt anyone again. She looked at Marcus steadily. Do you want details? Marcus thought about it. No. Good, because I don't have them. My dad doesn't tell me that stuff. Probably never will. She reached out and touched his hand, the one that wasn't connected to IV lines. But I know enough. The Iron Wolves won't be a problem anymore. My dad made sure of it. How? Phone calls, meetings, the kind of stuff that happens when you've been in this life for 30 years and everyone owes you favors. Emma squeezed his hand. The point is, you're safe. I'm safe. And it's because of you. The door opened again. Bull Harrison filled the frame, his massive body blocking out the hallway light. His eyes went straight to Marcus, and something shifted in his face, a softening that didn't match the hard lines and scars. You're awake, Bull said. That's what everyone keeps telling me. Bull walked into the room slowly, like he was approaching something fragile. Which was ridiculous. He was the one who looked like he could break someone in half without trying. How do you feel? Like I got shot. That's about right. Bull stopped at the foot of the bed. His hands gripped the rail, knuckles going white. I need to say something to you, Marcus Cole, and I need you to listen. Marcus nodded. I've been in this life for 32 years. I've seen things, done things, made choices that keep me up at night sometimes. Bull's voice was rough, like he was dragging the words out of somewhere deep. But I've never, not once, seen anyone do what you did last night. I just pushed my chair. No, you didn't just push your chair. You saw a threat that trained killers missed. You moved when moving should have been impossible. You put your body between a bullet and my daughter without knowing if you'd survive. Bull's voice cracked. Do you understand what that means to me? Do you have any idea? Marcus didn't answer. Couldn't. That girl is everything I have, everything I've ever done right in this world. Her mother died when she was 6, and I swore on her grave that I would keep Emma safe, that nothing would ever hurt her. Tears were running down Bull's face now. This massive, terrifying man was crying openly, without shame. Last night I failed. I didn't see that guy moving. I was so focused on Snake that I forgot the first rule. There's always another threat. If it wasn't for you, he couldn't finish. Emma stood up and wrapped her arms around her father. They held each other, this giant in leather and his college-age daughter, crying together beside the bed of a stranger who'd changed everything. Marcus watched them, and something inside him, something that had been frozen since the accident, started to thaw. I didn't do it for thanks, he said quietly. I didn't do it to be a hero. I saw her face. She reminded me of someone, and I couldn't sit there and watch. Bull pulled back from Emma, wiping his face with hands that had probably broken bones and worse. Who'd she remind you of? My little sister. She used to look at my mom the same way Emma looks at you, like nothing bad could ever happen as long as you were there. Where's your sister now? Oregon. We don't talk much anymore. Why not? Marcus hesitated. This was more than he'd shared with anyone in years. But something about nearly dying had stripped away the walls he'd built. After my accident, people didn't know how to be around me. I was angry, bitter, pushed everyone away until they stopped trying to come back. He looked at the ceiling. My sister called once a week for the first 6 months, then once a month, then not at all. I told myself she was busy, but the truth is I made it too hard for her to love me. That's gonna change, Bull said. What? You heard me. Whatever walls you've built, we're tearing them down. You saved my daughter's life, Marcus. That means you're part of something now, something bigger than whatever lonely corner you've been hiding in. Bull leaned forward. You're family, and family doesn't let family disappear. Marcus opened his mouth to argue, to explain that he wasn't family material, that everyone who'd ever called him family had eventually left. But before he could speak, the door burst open. Tiny, the biker who'd sat with Marcus in the bar, came rushing in, his face split in a grin so wide it looked painful. He's awake? He's actually awake? Tiny pushed past Bull and Emma, stopping at Marcus's bedside. Brother, you had us scared, man. The doc said you lost so much blood they weren't sure you'd make it through the night. I'm hard to kill, apparently. Damn right you are. You're one of us now. He turned the phone toward Marcus. The screen was filled with messages. This one's from Dallas. This one's from Oklahoma City. This one's from Baton Rouge. Everyone's asking the same thing. What? When they can come pay their respects. When they can meet the man who threw himself in front of a bullet for one of their own. Marcus's head was spinning. This was too much, too fast. He was a nobody, a broken man in a wheelchair who'd spent 3 years being invisible. I didn't do it for attention. Too bad, Emma said softly. She was smiling through her tears. Because you've got it. You've got the attention of every Hell's Angel in the Southwest. And they don't forget, Marcus. They never forget. The nurse appeared in the doorway, frowning. I'm sorry, but he needs rest. You can come back in a few hours. No. Marcus surprised himself with the strength in his voice. Let them stay, please. The nurse hesitated, looking at Bull. Something in the biker's face made her nod slowly. 1 hour, then he sleeps. She left. The door clicked shut. Marcus, Bull said, his voice low and serious. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay? When you get out of here, what are you going back to? The question hit harder than the bullet had. Marcus thought about his apartment, small, empty, filled with nothing but reminders of who he used to be. Thought about his days, endless hours of nothing, waiting for something that never came. Thought about his nights, lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if anyone would notice if he just stopped. Nothing, he admitted. I'm going back to nothing. Bull nodded like he'd expected that answer. That's what I thought. Here's what's going to happen. When the doctors clear you, you're coming to stay at the clubhouse. You'll have a room. You'll have brothers watching your back. You'll have a purpose. I can't. You can, and you will. Because that's what family does. We take care of each other. Bull's eyes locked onto Marcus's. You saved my daughter, Marcus. That debt can never be repaid. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying. I don't want you to owe me anything. It's not about owing, it's about belonging. Bull reached out and gripped Marcus's good shoulder. You've been alone for too long. I can see it in your eyes. That hollow look that comes from having no one to live for. Well, that's over now. You hear me? That's over. Marcus felt something break inside him. Not the bad kind of breaking, the kind that happens when walls finally come down, when the dam you've built around your heart can't hold anymore. I don't know how to be part of something, he whispered. I forgot. Then we'll teach you. Emma took his hand again. We'll teach you how to be family, how to let people in, how to stop being invisible. The word hit him like a fist. Invisible. That's what he'd been. That's what he'd wanted to be. He'd spent 3 years making himself small, making himself forgettable, making himself into someone nobody would miss when he was gone. And then he'd thrown himself in front of a bullet. And suddenly, everyone could see him. I'm scared, Marcus said. The admission felt like tearing off a bandage. I'm scared of being seen. I'm scared of mattering to people. Because everyone who's ever mattered to me has left. We're not leaving, Bull said simply. Hell's Angels don't abandon their own. Not ever. Not for any reason. You don't know me. I know what I need to know. I know you're the kind of man who saves strangers, who moves when moving is impossible, who cares more about a girl you'd never met than about your own life. Bull's grip tightened. That's all I need to know. The rest we'll figure out together. Tiny cleared his throat. Boss, sorry to interrupt, but Ray's on the phone. Says he needs to talk to you. Now. Bull frowned but pulled out his phone. This better be important. He stepped into the corner, speaking quietly. Marcus couldn't hear the words, but he could see Bull's face changing. First confusion, then shock, then something that looked almost like awe. How many? Bull said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You're sure? All of them? More talking. Bull's free hand ran through his gray hair. 3 days. Yeah, I'll tell him. He hung up, turned back to Marcus. Well, this just got bigger. What happened? Bull looked at Emma, then at Tiny, then back at Marcus. That was Ray calling from Austin. He's been making calls, putting out the word about what happened. Seeing who wants to help. Help with what? With you. Bull shook his head like he couldn't quite believe what he was about to say. Marcus, do you know how many chapters there are between here and the Louisiana border? No. 18. 18 chapters. Somewhere around 2,000 brothers total. Bull paused. Ray just told me that 16 of those chapters want to ride here. To Redwater. To see you. Marcus's heart stopped. What? Not just the officers, not just a few guys from each chapter. Everyone. Every single member who can make it. They're calling in sick to work, canceling plans, dropping everything. Bull's voice was thick with emotion. They want to honor you, Marcus. They want to see the man who saved Bull Harrison's daughter. That's insane. That's family. Tiny was grinning again. When one of us does something like what you did, word travels fast, and people respond. It's what we do. Emma squeezed Marcus's hand. Do you understand now? Do you see what I meant when I said you're not alone anymore? Marcus couldn't speak. His throat had closed around something too big for words. 3 years of emptiness. 3 years of being forgotten. 3 years of believing he would never matter to anyone again. And now hundreds, maybe thousands, of strangers wanted to ride across state lines just to look him in the eye and say thank you. When? He managed. 3 days, Bull said. That's how long the doctors say you need before you can leave the hospital. They'll be here when you get out. He moved to the bedside, his massive frame blocking out the light. And Marcus, there's something else. What? Some of the brothers, they want to build you something special. Bull glanced at Tiny, who was practically vibrating with excitement. Something that'll give you your freedom back. I don't understand. You will. In 3 days you will. Bull reached down and pulled the leather jacket from the chair. He laid it across Marcus's lap, the patches facing up. The death's head stared at Marcus with empty eyes. This isn't a loan, Bull said. This is yours, forever. You're one of us now, Marcus Cole. And nothing is ever going to be the same. Marcus looked at the jacket, then at Emma, who was crying again but smiling through it. Then at Tiny, who was bouncing on his heels like a kid on Christmas morning. Then at Bull, whose scarred face held more emotion than Marcus had seen in any human being. Thank you, Marcus whispered. It wasn't enough, would never be enough, but it was all he had. Don't thank us yet, Bull said. Wait until you see what's coming. He turned and walked out. Tiny followed, pausing at the door to flash Marcus a thumbs up. Then it was just Marcus and Emma, alone with the beeping machines and the leather jacket and the impossible weight of everything that had just happened. You should sleep, Emma said. I don't think I can. Try. You need rest. The next 3 days are going to be... She laughed softly. I don't even know what they're going to be, but you need to be ready. She stood up to leave. Marcus caught her hand. Emma, yeah? Why does it matter so much to all these people? I'm nobody. I'm just a guy in a wheelchair who got lucky. Emma looked at him for a long moment. Then she bent down and did something that stopped his heart. She kissed his forehead. You're not nobody, Marcus. You're the man who saved my life. And in our world, that makes you the most important person alive. She straightened up, wiping her eyes. Sleep now. Dream good dreams. When you wake up, your new life begins. She walked out. The door closed. Marcus lay in the hospital bed, the leather jacket warm against his legs, the pain in his shoulder distant and unimportant. 3 days. In 3 days, everything would change. He just had no idea how much. The hours blurred together. Nurses came and went. Doctors checked his vitals, changed his bandages, asked questions he barely heard. Day became night, became day again. But Marcus wasn't alone anymore. Every time he opened his eyes, there was someone there, Tiny, telling jokes that weren't funny but made Marcus laugh anyway. Other bikers he didn't know, introducing themselves with names like Gears and Roadkill and Preacher, sitting quietly, just keeping him company. Emma, bringing him milkshakes and books she thought he might like. And Bull, always Bull, appearing at odd hours, saying nothing, just standing in the corner like a guardian angel made of leather and scars. You don't have to watch over me, Marcus told him on the second night. I'm fine. I know, Bull said. I'm not here for you. Then why? I'm here for me. Looking at you reminds me that good still exists, that people can still surprise you. Bull shifted his weight. I've seen a lot of bad in this world, Marcus. Done a lot of bad too. But you're something different. Something I didn't think I'd ever see. I'm not a saint. Nobody said you were. Saints don't throw themselves in front of bullets. That's not holiness. That's something else. Bull was quiet for a moment. That's love. I don't love Emma. I don't even know her. Not that kind of love. The kind that doesn't need a reason. The kind that sees a stranger in danger and moves without thinking. The kind that most people have forgotten how to feel. Bull looked at him steadily. You've got that in you, Marcus. Whatever else you've lost, you didn't lose that. Marcus turned away, unable to hold Bull's gaze. I've spent 3 years hating myself, wishing I died in that accident instead of just losing my legs. Some nights I thought about finishing what the drunk driver started. I know. You do? I've seen that look before, the look of a man who doesn't think he has any reason to keep going. Bull moved to the bed, his boots heavy on the hospital floor. But you do, Marcus. You have reasons now. You have us. What if I'm not strong enough? What if I can't be what you think I am? Then we'll be strong for you until you figure it out. Bull gripped his shoulder, the good one. That's what family does. We carry each other. Always. Marcus closed his eyes. Tears leaked from beneath his lids. Thank you, he whispered. Save your thanks. You haven't seen anything yet. On the morning of the 3rd day, Emma arrived with news. They're here, she said. Her voice was shaking with excitement. Marcus, they're here. Who? Everyone. She pulled back the curtain from the window. Look. Marcus pushed himself up in the bed. Pain shot through his shoulder, but he barely noticed. Outside the hospital, the street had vanished. In its place was an ocean of motorcycles, chrome glinting in the morning sun, leather as far as the eye could see. Hundreds, maybe thousands, of bikes lined up in perfect rows, their riders standing beside them, all of them facing the hospital, all of them facing Marcus's window. 16 chapters, Emma whispered. 1,614 riders. They started arriving at dawn. They're still coming. She turned to look at him, her eyes bright with tears. They came for you, Marcus. All of them. For you. Marcus couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but stare at the impossible sight before him. 3 years ago, he'd been in a hospital just like this one, waking up to learn that his legs were gone and his life was over. Now he was waking up to learn that his life was just beginning, and outside his window, 1,600 strangers were waiting to welcome him home. Marcus couldn't stop staring. That's not real, he said. That can't be real. Emma laughed through her tears. It's real, every single one of them. But I don't know these people. They know you. Emma took his hand. They know what you did. And in our world, that's all that matters. The door burst open. Bull walked in, followed by Tiny and 3 other bikers Marcus had met over the past 3 days. They were all grinning like fools. You see them? Bull asked. I see them. Good, because they've been waiting since 4 in the morning, and they're getting restless. Bull moved to the bed and started gathering Marcus's things. Doc says you're cleared to leave, so let's go. Wait. Marcus's heart was pounding. I can't go out there. Why not? Because there's over 1,000 people waiting, and I don't even know what to say to them. Bull stopped, turned. His face softened in a way Marcus still wasn't used to seeing. You don't have to say anything, brother. You just have to show up. He put a hand on Marcus's good shoulder. That's all anyone ever has to do. Just show up. A nurse came in with discharge papers. Marcus signed them with shaking hands, barely reading the words. His mind was outside, with the impossible crowd that had gathered for him. Ready? Emma asked. No. That's okay. We'll be with you the whole time. Tiny brought the wheelchair. Marcus had mixed feelings about it. For 3 years it had been his prison, the thing that defined him, the constant reminder of everything he'd lost. But today felt different. Today the chair wasn't a cage. It was just a way to get where he needed to go. They lifted him into it carefully, mindful of his shoulder. The leather jacket, Bull's jacket, was draped across his lap. Put it on, Bull said. What? The jacket. Put it on. I can't. My shoulder. Just the good arm. Drape it over the other side. When you go out there, you go out as one of us. Marcus's hands trembled as he worked his right arm into the sleeve. Tiny helped him arrange the rest over his bandaged shoulder. The leather was heavy, warm. It smelled like gasoline and years of hard living. "How do I look?" Marcus asked. "Like a Hell's Angel," Emma said softly. "Like you belong." They moved toward the elevator, Bull in front, Tiny pushing the wheelchair. Emma walking beside Marcus, her hand resting on his arm. "There's something you need to know," Bull said as they waited for the elevator doors to open. "Before we go out there." "What?" "Some of these brothers, they've never met you, never even heard of you before 3 days ago. But they rode hundreds of miles just to be here, left their jobs, their families, their lives." Bull's voice was thick. "Do you understand what that means?" Marcus shook his head. "It means you matter, not because of who you were before, not because of anything you've done except one moment of courage in a bar in Redwater, Texas." Bull turned to face him. "When you go out there, don't think about the wheelchair. Don't think about what you've lost. Think about what you just gained. 1,000 brothers and sisters who will ride to the end of the earth for you, who will fight for you, die for you if they have to." His voice cracked. "That's more than most people get in a lifetime, and you earned it in 30 seconds. The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. "Dad," Emma said quietly, "tell him the rest." Bull took a deep breath. "There's something else, something we've been working on." "What do you mean?" "You'll see. Just try not to cry in front of everyone, okay?" Bull almost smiled. "These guys already think you're soft because you got shot and didn't die." "That's not funny." "Wasn't trying to be funny." The elevator descended. Marcus's stomach dropped with it. "I'm scared," he admitted. "Good," Tiny said from behind him. "Means you're human. Means this matters to you." "What if I disappoint them? What if they see me and realize I'm just a guy, just a broken man who got lucky?" "You're not broken," Emma said fiercely. "How many times do I have to tell you that?" "You keep saying it. I keep not believing it." "Then we'll keep saying it until you do." She squeezed his arm. "Every day, for as long as it takes." The elevator stopped. The doors opened. The lobby of Redwater General Hospital was empty, except for a line of bikers forming a corridor to the front entrance. They stood at attention, hands clasped in front of them, faces solemn. "Walk of honor," Bull said quietly. "Every brother you pass has done something to earn his place here, and now you're walking the same path." "I'm not walking. You know what I mean." Tiny pushed the wheelchair forward. As Marcus passed each biker, they nodded. Some reached out to touch his shoulder. Some murmured words he couldn't quite catch. "Welcome, brother. Proud of you. Glad you made it. One of us now." Marcus felt tears building behind his eyes. He blinked them back, remembering Bull's words about not crying. But it was hard, so hard. At the end of the corridor stood a woman Marcus didn't recognize. She was older, maybe 60, with silver hair pulled back in a tight braid and a leather vest covered in patches. "Marcus Cole," she said. Her voice was like gravel and honey mixed together. "I'm Maggie, chapter mother from Austin." "Ma'am." "Don't ma'am me, boy. I've changed more diapers and buried more brothers than you've had hot meals." But she was smiling. "I rode 300 miles to see the man who saved Bull's baby girl. And now that I've seen you, I only have one thing to say." Marcus braced himself. "Thank you." Maggie's voice broke. "Thank you for reminding us what courage looks like. We needed that reminder, more than you know." She stepped aside. The front doors of the hospital were 10 feet away. Through the glass, Marcus could see the crowd waiting outside. "This is it," Bull said. "Last chance to back out. Would you let me?" "No, but I figured I'd offer." Marcus took a deep breath. "Let's go." Tiny pushed him forward. The automatic doors slid open. The sound hit Marcus first. It wasn't cheering. It wasn't applause. It was something more primal than that. It was the sound of 1,600 people drawing breath at once. The collective gasp of a crowd seeing something they've been waiting for. Then silence. Complete, absolute silence. Marcus looked out at the sea of leather and chrome, faces he didn't know, names he'd never learn, all of them staring at him with an intensity that made his skin prickle. Bull stepped forward. His voice boomed across the parking lot without any amplification. "Brothers and sisters, you know why we're here. 3 days ago, in a bar not 5 miles from where we stand, this man did something that most of us only dream about. He saw a threat. He didn't hesitate. He didn't think about himself. He moved." The crowd was still silent, watching, waiting. Marcus Cole couldn't walk before that night. Still can't. Probably never will again. Bull's voice cracked, and he didn't try to hide it. But he moved faster than anyone in that room, threw himself between a bullet and my daughter, took that bullet in his own body so that Emma could live. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Marcus saw men wiping their eyes, women clutching each other. "I've been in this life for 32 years, Bull continued. "I've seen courage, I've seen sacrifice, but I have never, not once, seen anything like what this man did." He turned to Marcus. "You said you just pushed your chair. You said you didn't think about it. But I've been thinking about it for 3 days straight, and I finally figured out what you really did." "What?" Marcus whispered. "You showed us who you really are. Not the wheelchair, not the accident, not the years of pain and loneliness. You showed us your heart." Bull's voice rose. "And brother, your heart is the biggest damn thing I've ever seen." The crowd erupted, not in cheers, in tears. Marcus watched in disbelief as hundreds of hardened bikers began to cry. Men with scars and prison tattoos, women who looked like they could break bones with their bare hands. All of them weeping openly, without shame. "What's happening?" Marcus asked, his own voice breaking. "They're honoring you," Emma said. She was crying too, her hand tight on his arm. "In our world, tears are the highest honor. They're saying you moved them, that what you did touched something they thought was dead inside them." "I didn't mean to. That's why it matters." She wiped her eyes. "You didn't do it for glory. You didn't do it for recognition. You did it because you couldn't stand by and watch someone get hurt. That's the purest kind of courage there is." Bull held up his hand. The crowd slowly quieted. "Now, we didn't ride all this way just to cry at a hospital." He grinned through his tears. "We came to give this man something we've been working on for 3 days straight." The crowd parted. A path opened through the sea of motorcycles, and then Marcus saw it. 2 bikers were rolling something forward, something black and chrome that caught the morning sun like liquid silver. A motorcycle, but not like any motorcycle Marcus had ever seen. "Oh my God," he breathed. It was beautiful. Custom built from the ground up. The frame was jet black, but the chrome was polished until it looked like mirrors. Across the gas tank was painted a phoenix rising from flames, its wings spread wide, its eyes blazing with golden fire. And the controls, Marcus's breath caught as he understood. No foot pedals, no kickstart, everything adapted for hands, for someone who couldn't walk, for someone like him. "We built it ourselves," Bull said quietly. "Every brother here contributed something. Parts, money, time, 3 days of work around the clock." He walked to the bike and ran his hand along the seat. The frame came from Austin, the engine from Dallas, the paint job from a brother in Louisiana who's the best artist I've ever known. Marcus couldn't speak. His throat had closed completely. "The hand controls are state-of-the-art," Bull continued. "Brake here, throttle here, everything you need to ride without using your legs." He looked at Marcus. "We wanted you to have your freedom back, wanted you to know that a wheelchair doesn't have to be a prison." "I can't accept this," Marcus finally managed. "You don't have a choice." "This is too much. I didn't do anything to deserve—" "You saved my daughter." Bull's voice was steel. "If you think there's a limit to what I give you for that, you don't understand anything about me." Emma stepped forward. "Marcus, do you remember what you said in the hospital? About how everyone who mattered to you left?" He nodded, unable to trust his voice. This is us telling you that we're not leaving, ever." She gestured at the crowd. 1,600 people, Marcus. They all left their lives to be here, to tell you the same thing. You matter. You belong. You're home. Tiny appeared beside the wheelchair. Ready to see what she can do? You mean, now? Why not now? Doc cleared you. Shoulder's gonna hurt, but it won't kill you. Tiny grinned. Unless you're scared. I'm terrified. Good. Best rides always start with terror. They lifted Marcus from the wheelchair. His shoulder screamed in protest, but he barely noticed. His eyes were locked on the motorcycle. His motorcycle. It was lower than a standard bike, built for someone who needed to stay balanced without leg support. The seat was wide and comfortable, with a custom backrest that would keep him stable. They helped him settle into place. His hands found the grips, and for the first time in 3 years, Marcus felt something he'd forgotten existed. Power. Turn her on, Tiny said. Switch is right there. Marcus flipped the switch. The engine roared to life beneath him, a deep growl that vibrated through his entire body. Oh my God, he whispered again. She's got a modified V-twin, one of the bikers explained. Marcus recognized him as Gears, the mechanical expert from Dallas. Custom exhaust for that sound. But the real magic is in the balance system. Gyroscopes hidden in the frame. Even without your legs, she'll stay upright at stops. Marcus's hands were shaking on the grips. I haven't ridden since before the accident. I don't know if I can. You can, Bull said. He climbed onto his own bike beside Marcus. I'll ride next to you. Whole way, if something goes wrong, I'm right here. Where are we going? Wherever you want. That's the whole point. Bull's eyes were wet again. You're free, Marcus. For the first time in 3 years, you're free. Marcus looked at the bike, at the Phoenix on the gas tank, at the crowd of 1,600 people who had traveled hundreds of miles to give him this moment. I used to dream about riding, he said quietly. After the accident, every night for months, I dream I was on a bike, wind in my face, roads stretching out forever. Then I'd wake up and remember my legs didn't work. He swallowed hard. I stopped dreaming eventually, figured it was easier than waking up disappointed. And now? Emma asked. Marcus revved the engine. The sound was thunder, was freedom, was everything he'd thought he'd lost. Now I'm going to find out if the dream was as good as I remembered. Bull raised his fist. Brothers and sisters, let's ride. 1,600 engines roared to life at once. The sound was indescribable. It wasn't noise, it was power made audible. The ground shook. The windows of the hospital rattled. Car alarms half a mile away started blaring, and Marcus was at the center of it all. Tiny leaned close. Follow Bull. Nice and easy. Don't push it until you feel comfortable. What if I fall? Then we pick you up. That's what brothers do. Bull pulled forward slowly. Marcus squeezed the hand control, felt the bike respond, felt himself moving under his own power for the first time in 3 years. The crowd parted around him. Bikers fell into formation. Bull on his left, Tiny on his right, Emma behind him on her father's spare bike. The rest followed in a procession that stretched back further than Marcus could see. They rolled out of the hospital parking lot and onto the main street of Redwater. People were gathering on the sidewalks, drawn by the sound. Children pointed. Old men saluted. A woman in a diner pressed her hand against the window, tears streaming down her face. Why is she crying? Marcus asked over the engine noise. Because she's seeing something beautiful, Bull shouted back. Something that gives people hope. A man who lost everything, finding it again. That matters, Marcus. That matters to everyone who's ever felt broken. They rode through town slowly, letting everyone see. Marcus kept expecting to feel embarrassed, exposed, vulnerable. But he didn't. He felt seen. For 3 years, he'd been invisible. The guy in the wheelchair, the tragedy people pretended not to notice, the broken thing that made others uncomfortable. Now he was riding a custom motorcycle at the head of a procession of 1,600 bikers, wearing a Hell's Angels jacket, surrounded by people who thought he was a hero. He wasn't invisible anymore. He was the most visible person in Redwater, Texas. And for the first time since the accident, that felt okay. The road opened up as they left town. Bull picked up speed and Marcus matched him, feeling the bike respond to his touch like it had been waiting for him all along. "How does it feel?" Emma pulled up beside him, her voice carrying over the wind. "Like flying," Marcus said. "Like I'm not in a chair anymore. Like I'm not broken anymore." "You were never broken. You just forgot how to fly." The highway stretched before them, empty and endless. Marcus twisted the throttle and felt the bike surge forward. Wind tore at his face, whipped his hair back, filled his lungs with clean air and gasoline fumes. His legs were useless. His shoulder was on fire. His whole body was exhausted from 3 days in a hospital bed. But none of that mattered. He was riding. He was flying. He was free. Bull appeared beside him, grinning through his beard. "Ready for more?" "More what?" "More speed, more road, more life." Bull's eyes were bright with joy. "We've got 3 states to cross before sundown. Think you can handle it?" Marcus looked back at the endless line of motorcycles behind him. 1,600 brothers and sisters, riding in formation, following him toward whatever came next. "Yeah," he said, "I can handle it." He opened the throttle all the way. The Phoenix on his gas tank seemed to spread its wings as the bike leaped forward, carrying Marcus into a future he'd never imagined possible. Behind him, 1,600 engines roared in answer, and somewhere in the crowd, someone started to cheer. The cheer spread like wildfire. One voice became 10. 10 became 100. 100 became 1,000. By the time they hit the highway, the sound was so loud it seemed to shake the sky itself. Marcus Cole, the invisible man, the broken mechanic, the guy who'd spent 3 years believing his life was over. Marcus Cole was finally going home, and he had an army of angels at his back. If you or someone you know is having a difficult time, free support is available. Find resources. The highway stretched out like a ribbon of gray beneath the endless Texas sky, and Marcus Cole had never felt more alive. 3 hours into the ride, his shoulder was screaming. His arms ached from gripping the handlebars. His body was exhausted from 3 days in a hospital bed, followed by the most intense morning of his life. But he didn't want to stop. Every mile was a middle finger to the drunk driver who'd stolen his legs. Every twist of the throttle was a declaration that he wasn't finished. Every second on this motorcycle was proof that Marcus Cole still existed, still mattered, still had something left to give. Bull pulled up beside him, gesturing toward an exit. "Rest stop ahead. We're taking a break." Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to keep riding forever, chasing the horizon until he ran out of road. But his shoulder made the decision for him. A fresh wave of pain shot through the wound, so sharp it made him gasp. "Yeah," he managed. "Okay." The procession of 1,600 motorcycles flowed off the highway like a river of chrome and leather. The rest stop, a cluster of buildings that probably served a few dozen travelers on a normal day, was about to be invaded. Marcus killed his engine and sat for a moment, letting the silence wash over him. His ears were ringing from hours of wind and motor noise. His hands were cramped from gripping the controls. But beneath the exhaustion, something else was pulsing through his veins. Joy. Pure, uncomplicated joy. "You okay?" Emma appeared beside him, her face flushed from the ride, her hair a wild mess beneath her helmet. "I'm better than okay." "You look like hell." "Thanks." "I mean it." She reached out and touched his forehead. "You're burning up. When did you last take your pain meds?" Marcus tried to remember. "This morning, I think." "That was 6 hours ago. You're supposed to take them every 4. Emma turned and shouted over the crowd, "Tiny! Get the first aid kit. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're a stubborn idiot who just got shot 3 days ago and decided to ride a motorcycle across Texas instead of resting like a normal person. Normal is boring. Normal keeps people alive. Tiny appeared with a medical kit. Behind him, other bikers were gathering, their faces creased with concern. What's wrong? Bull pushed through the crowd. What happened? Nothing happened, Marcus said. He's running a fever and he hasn't taken his meds, Emma cut in. He needs to rest for real, Dad, not just a quick stop. Bull studied Marcus's face. Whatever he saw there made him frown. There's a motel about 20 miles up the road. We'll stop there for the night. That's not necessary. I'm not asking. Bull's voice was steel wrapped in leather. You saved my daughter's life. You think I'm going to let you kill yourself on a road trip? He turned to the crowd. We're stopping for the night. Spread the word. The message rippled back through the ranks. 1,600 bikers adjusting their plans because one man needed rest. Marcus felt his face flush. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Bull crouched beside the motorcycle so he was eye level with Marcus. You need to understand something, brother. When I said your family now, I meant it. Family doesn't let family suffer alone. Family doesn't let stubborn pride turn into stupid decisions. I wasn't being stubborn. You were being exactly like me at your age. Thought I could outrun my problems. Thought if I just kept moving, the pain would stop. Bull's eyes were distant. It doesn't work that way. Trust me. What happened to you? Bull was quiet for a long moment. I lost my wife when Emma was 6. Drunk driver, same as you. She died on impact. Marcus's heart clenched. I'm sorry. I spent the next 2 years riding, barely saw my daughter, left her with her grandmother while I put 50,000 miles on my bike, trying to escape the grief. Bull's voice cracked. You know what I learned? What? You can't outrun pain. You can only ride with it until you're ready to face it. He stood up. So we're stopping for the night. You're going to rest, take your meds, and let people take care of you. And tomorrow, we ride again. Marcus wanted to argue, but looking at Bull's face, this hard man who'd built walls around his heart and was slowly letting Marcus see behind them, he couldn't find the words. Okay, he said quietly. Okay. The motel was called the Desert Rose, and it had exactly 42 rooms. For a normal group of travelers, that would have been plenty. For 1,600 bikers, it was a starting point. We'll rotate, Bull announced. First shift sleeps, second shift guards the bikes. Third shift finds food for everyone, 4 hours each. It was military precision wrapped in motorcycle leather. Marcus watched in amazement as the chaos organized itself. Bikers falling into roles without being told, everyone knowing their place in a machine that ran on loyalty and brotherhood. Does this happen often? Marcus asked Tiny, who was helping him off the bike. What, taking over a motel? All of it. The organization. The way everyone just knows what to do. Tiny grinned. Brother, this is nothing. You should see us at a real rally. 10,000 bikes, all moving like one. It's beautiful. They got Marcus into a room on the ground floor. Easier for the wheelchair they'd brought along, just in case. The bed was soft, the air conditioning hummed, and for the first time since leaving the hospital, Marcus felt the weight of exhaustion really hit him. Sleep, Emma ordered. She'd taken charge of his medical care with a fierceness that reminded Marcus of her father. I'll wake you for dinner. You don't have to stay. I know I don't have to. I want to. She sat in the chair by the window, pulling out her phone. Besides, someone needs to make sure you actually rest instead of trying to sneak back outside. I wouldn't. You would. I've known you for 3 days and I already know you would. She looked up at him, and something in her eyes made his chest hurt. Sleep, Marcus. I'll be here when you wake up. He wanted to say something else, something meaningful, but the exhaustion was too heavy, pulling him down into darkness like a warm tide. The last thing he saw before his eyes closed was Emma's face, soft in the afternoon light, watching over him like he was something precious. Marcus dreamed of the accident. He'd had this dream 1,000 times before. The intersection, the red light, the headlights coming too fast, too bright, impossibly close. But this time something was different. This time, when the car hit his truck, Marcus didn't wake up screaming. Instead, the dream shifted. He was lying on the pavement, broken and bleeding, and someone was kneeling beside him. Not a paramedic, not a stranger, his father. The man who'd walked out when Marcus was 7. The face he'd spent years trying to forget. "You always were weak," his father said, "just like your mother. No spine, no fight." Marcus tried to speak, but no words came out. "Look at you now. Can't even walk. Can't even take care of yourself. You think those bikers actually care about you?" His father laughed, cold and mean, the way Marcus remembered. "They'll leave. Everyone leaves. That's what you learned, isn't it? That's what I taught you." No. The word came from somewhere deep, somewhere Marcus had forgotten existed. "No. They're not you," Marcus said. And suddenly he could speak, could move, could rise from the broken pavement like it was nothing. "They're not you, and I'm not the kid you left behind." His father's face twisted. "You'll always be—" "I'm not weak." Marcus was standing now, whole and strong, the accident unwinding itself around him. "I was never weak. I survived. I kept going. I threw myself in front of a bullet for a stranger because that's who I am. That's who I was always meant to be." His father started to fade, dissolving like smoke in sunlight. "You left," Marcus said, "but I stayed. I stayed through all of it, the pain, the loneliness, the years of thinking I was worthless, and I'm still here." The dream shattered like glass. Marcus woke up gasping, his heart pounding, his eyes wet with tears he didn't remember crying. Hey, you're okay." Emma was beside him instantly, her hands on his face, her eyes wide with concern. "You were dreaming. It's okay, you're safe." "My father," Marcus choked out. "I dreamed about my father." "The one who left?" "Yeah." Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she climbed onto the bed beside him, careful of his shoulder, and wrapped her arms around him. "What are you doing?" Marcus asked, his voice shaking. "Holding you. Is that okay?" He couldn't answer, couldn't do anything but let himself be held while the tears came, hot and ugly, and years overdue. "I spent my whole life thinking there was something wrong with me," he whispered into her hair. "Thinking that's why he left. Why everyone left. Because I wasn't enough. There's nothing wrong with you. I know that now, but I didn't know it for so long. I believed it for so long." He pulled back, looking at her face. "That night in the bar, when I moved, it wasn't bravery. It was the first time I didn't think about myself at all. The first time I just acted because someone else mattered more than my fear." "That's exactly what bravery is," Emma said softly. "I was invisible for 3 years. I made myself invisible because I thought that's what I deserved. And then you walked into that bar and you were so," he struggled for the word, "bright. You were so bright, like nothing had ever dimmed you. And when I saw that gun turn toward you, I couldn't let that light go out. I couldn't." Emma's eyes were wet now too. "You barely knew me." "I knew enough. I knew you had a father who would die for you. I knew you had people who loved you. I knew you had a whole life ahead of you that was worth saving." He touched her face, trembling. "I didn't think I had anything worth saving, so it was easy to move, easy to take that bullet. Because what was I losing?" "Everything," Emma whispered. "You could have lost everything." "I didn't have anything to lose. That's what I thought." Marcus shook his head. "I was wrong. I was so wrong. But I didn't know that until I woke up in the hospital and saw your father crying. Until I saw all those bikers outside. Until I realized that maybe I'd been wrong about all of it." The door opened. Bull stood in the frame, his face unreadable. "Sorry," Emma said quickly, pulling away from Marcus. I heard." Bull's voice was thick. "I was listening outside." Marcus felt his face flush. "I didn't mean to." "Don't apologize." Bull walked into the room and sat on the edge of the bed. For a long moment, he just looked at Marcus, his eyes searching for something. Then he did something Marcus never expected. He took Marcus's hand. "My father walked out when I was 12, Bull said quietly. "Different circumstances, same result. Spent my whole life thinking I wasn't worth staying for. Built these walls around myself so thick, I forgot they were there. Bull, when my wife died, I almost drowned in it. The grief, the anger, the same old story I'd been telling myself since I was a kid, that I wasn't enough, that everyone I loved would leave." His grip tightened on Marcus's hand. "Emma saved me. She was 6 years old, and she saved me. Not because she did anything heroic, just because she was there, just because she needed me, just because loving her gave me a reason to keep going." Emma was crying silently, her hand pressed over her mouth. "That's what you did for us," Bull continued. "Not just saving Emma's life. You gave us a reason to believe in people again. You reminded us that strangers can be heroes, that broken doesn't mean worthless, that the most invisible person in the room might be the one who changes everything." "I'm not a hero," Marcus said. "Yes, you are, and I'm going to keep saying it until you believe it." Bull stood up, still holding Marcus's hand. "Now, there's something I need to tell you, something that happened while you were sleeping." Marcus's heart lurched. "What?" "Your phone's been ringing, same number, over and over. I finally answered it." Bull reached into his pocket and pulled out Marcus's cell phone. "It was your mother." The world tilted. "What?" She saw the news. Stories everywhere. Disabled man saves biker's daughter. 1,600 motorcycles show up at hospital. Went viral while we were riding. Bull handed him the phone. "She's been trying to reach you for hours. Left about 20 voicemails." Marcus stared at the phone like it might bite him. "She's on her way," Bull said. "Her plane lands in Dallas tonight. She's renting a car and driving here." "She's coming here?" "She said she's not missing another minute of her son's life." Her words. Bull's voice softened. "She also said to tell you she's sorry. For everything." Marcus couldn't breathe, couldn't think. His mother was coming. The woman who'd moved to Florida because she couldn't bear to look at his wheelchair. The woman who drifted away like everyone else. She was coming back. "There's more," Emma said quietly. She was holding her own phone now, scrolling through something. "Your sister called while you were asleep. Your mom gave her the number to reach you through us." "Sarah?" "She's flying in from Oregon. She'll be here tomorrow morning." The phone in Marcus's hand started ringing. He looked at the screen through blurred vision. "Mom." "Answer it," Bull said. "Face it. That's what we do now. We face things." Marcus's thumb trembled over the screen. 3 years of silence. 3 years of believing he wasn't worth coming back for. But he wasn't the same man he'd been 3 years ago. He wasn't even the same man he'd been a week ago. He was a Hell's Angel now. A brother. Someone who'd thrown himself in front of a bullet and lived to tell about it. He answered the phone. "Marcus?" His mother's voice was shaking. "Marcus, baby, is that you?" "Hi, Mom." She started crying immediately. Deep, racking sobs that came through the phone like a flood breaking through a dam. "I'm so sorry," she gasped. "I'm so sorry I left. I'm so sorry I didn't know how to." Mom, it's okay." "It's not okay. I saw you lying in that hospital bed after the accident, and I couldn't handle it. I ran away because I'm weak and scared, and I couldn't watch my baby boy suffer." "Mom." "But then I saw the news. I saw you on that motorcycle surrounded by all those people. I saw them crying for you. And I thought if all those strangers can love my son, why couldn't I be there for him? Why did I run?" Marcus closed his eyes. The tears were coming again, but they felt different now. Cleaner. I'm not the same person I was, he said. When you left, when everyone left, I thought it was because I wasn't worth staying for. I believed that for so long, Mom. I believed I was nothing. You were never nothing. You were always my whole heart. Then why did you leave? Silence, long and heavy and full of 3 years of unspoken pain. Because looking at you reminded me of what I could have prevented, his mother finally said. That morning, the accident, I was supposed to drive you to work, but I had a headache, so I asked you to take your own truck. If I had driven you like I was supposed to, it wasn't your fault. I've spent 3 years telling myself it was. Mom, Marcus's voice was firm now, stronger than he'd heard it in years. The drunk driver made a choice. You didn't. None of this is your fault. And I need you to hear me when I say that. More crying, but softer now. The kind of crying that comes when something long broken finally starts to heal. I'm coming to see you, his mother said. I'll be there by midnight. You don't have to drive all night. I'm not missing another second. I've already missed 3 years. Her voice steadied. I love you, Marcus. I've always loved you. I just forgot how to show it. I love you too, Mom. He hung up. Bull and Emma were both watching him, their faces wet. Well, Bull said gruffly, looks like we're not going anywhere tonight. You don't have to stay. All those people out there, they came to ride. They came for you, and you need to be with your family. Bull put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. Your real family is coming. Let them come. Let them in. That's the hardest part, but it's also the only part that matters. Marcus looked at the man who'd been a stranger a week ago. The man who'd opened his world and his heart to someone who'd saved his daughter. You're my family too, Marcus said. You and Emma and all those people out there. I need you to know that. Bull's eyes glistened. I know, brother. Believe me, I know. The night was long. Marcus's mother arrived at 11:47 p.m., driving a rental car that she'd pushed way past the speed limit. She burst through the motel room door and stopped dead when she saw him. Oh my God, she breathed. Oh my God, Marcus. She was older than he remembered, grayer, lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. Hi, Mom. She crossed the room in 3 steps and wrapped her arms around him so tight he could barely breathe. And for the first time since the accident, Marcus let himself be held by his mother. Really held. I'm sorry, she kept saying. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I know, Mom. I know. I watched the video of you on that motorcycle, all those people behind you, and I thought, that's my son. That's my son, and I wasn't there to see it. You're here now. I should have been here all along, but you're here now. Marcus pulled back and looked at her face. That's what matters. You came back. His mother touched his cheek like she was making sure he was real. You look different. I feel different. Stronger. You look stronger. I am stronger. He glanced at Bull and Emma, who were standing by the door, giving them space but not leaving. I found people who believed in me, people who showed me what I could still be. His mother followed his gaze. Her eyes landed on Bull, this massive biker with tattoos and scars and tears still drying on his cheeks. You're Bull Harrison, she said. I saw you on the news. Yes, ma'am. You gave my son a reason to live again. Bull shook his head. No, ma'am. He already had that. We just helped him remember. Marcus's mother crossed the room and did something that shocked everyone. She hugged Bull Harrison. This tiny woman, maybe 5'3", wrapping her arms around a 6'4" biker president and holding on like her life depended on it. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for seeing my son when I couldn't. Bull's arms came up slowly, awkwardly, like he'd forgotten how to receive comfort. But he held her, and his eyes met Marcus's over her head. This is family, those eyes seemed to say. This is what it looks like when people stop running. Marcus's sister Sarah arrived at 7:23 a.m. She looked exactly like Marcus remembered. Same sandy brown hair, same blue eyes, same stubborn set to her jaw. But when she saw him, that stubbornness crumbled. Marcus. Hey, Sarah. I'm so sorry. She was crying before she finished crossing the room. I stopped calling. I stopped trying. I let you push me away and I used it as an excuse to stop fighting for you. I made it pretty hard to fight for me. So what? You're my brother. I should have fought harder. She grabbed his hands, her grip fierce. I watched that video 100 times on the plane, you throwing yourself in front of that bullet, and I thought, that's the same boy who used to protect me from bullies in middle school, the same boy who would have done anything to keep me safe. Sarah, I forgot who you were. I only saw the wheelchair. I only saw what you'd lost. I forgot to see what you still had. She was sobbing now, barely getting the words out. I'm so sorry, Marcus. I'm so sorry I forgot. He pulled her into a hug. His little sister, now a grown woman with a husband and a life in Oregon, and 3 years of distance between them. I forgot too, he said. I forgot who I was. I forgot that I could still matter. You always mattered, always. I know that now. She pulled back, wiping her face. How? How did you remember? Marcus looked at Emma, who was standing by the window with her father. Someone reminded me. A lot of someone's, actually. He smiled. Turns out when you're willing to die for a stranger, people start believing you might be worth keeping around. Sarah followed his gaze to Emma. Something knowing crossed her face. She's pretty. She's 19. And you're 25. That's not exactly scandalous. Sarah. I'm just saying. His sister grinned through her tears. The way she's looking at you right now, that's not how you look at just anybody. Marcus felt his face flush. Can we not? Fine, but I'm revisiting this conversation later. Sarah turned to their mother, who was sitting on the bed looking exhausted but happier than Marcus had seen her in years. Mom, you made it. I made it. The two women embraced and Marcus watched his family, broken for so long, scattered for so long, slowly putting itself back together. Bull appeared beside him. How do you feel? Terrified. Good, means you're letting people in. Bull handed him a cup of coffee. There's about 1,000 people outside who want to keep riding, but they'll wait as long as you need. Marcus looked toward the window. Even from here, he could hear the rumble of engines, the murmur of voices. All those people who'd come so far, now waiting on him. I don't want them to wait anymore, he said. I've done enough waiting for a lifetime. You sure? Marcus looked at his mother, his sister, Emma, Bull, all the faces that had been strangers a week ago and were now etched permanently in his heart. Yeah, he said, I'm sure. Bull grinned. Then let's ride. Marcus turned to his family. You coming? His mother blinked. What? Tiny's got a spare bike with a sidecar, room for both of you, if you want. Sarah's jaw dropped. You want us to ride with you? With all those bikers? They're not just bikers, they're my family. Marcus held out his hand. And so are you. I want my families to ride together. His mother and sister exchanged a look. Something passed between them. Fear, maybe, but also something else. Something like hope. Okay, his mother said quietly. Okay, we'll come. Emma appeared beside Marcus, her hand brushing his arm. Ready? He looked at her, at everything she represented, at the future he hadn't known he was allowed to have. Yeah, he said, I'm ready. They walked out into the morning sun together. The moment Marcus rolled his motorcycle out of the motel parking lot, 1,600 engines answered. The sound was different this time, not just loud, triumphant. Like every rider knew this was the final stretch, the last leg of a journey that had started with blood on a bar floor and was ending with something none of them had expected. Family. Marcus's mother was clutching Tiny's waist in the sidecar, her face pale but determined. Sarah sat behind her, one arm wrapped around their mother, the other gripping the rail like her life depended on it. "You okay back there?" Marcus shouted over the noise. His mother gave him a thumbs up. Her smile was terrified and exhilarated at the same time. Bull pulled up beside Marcus, his massive frame relaxed on his bike like he'd been born in the saddle. "Where do you want to go?" "What do you mean?" "This is your ride, brother, your moment. We go wherever you want to go." Marcus thought about it. Where did he want to go? For 3 years, he hadn't wanted to go anywhere. Had been content, no, not content, resigned, to sit in his corner at Red Dog Saloon and watch life happen to other people. But now? "Home," he said. "I want to go home." "Where's home?" Marcus hesitated. His apartment in Redwater wasn't home. It was just a place he slept. A storage unit for a life he'd stopped living. "Houston," he said finally. "I grew up in Houston. I want to see it again." Bull grinned. "Houston it is." He raised his fist, and the signal passed back through the ranks. 1,600 motorcycles shifted direction like a flock of birds, moving as one, following Marcus Cole toward the place where everything had started. The ride to Houston took 4 hours. 4 hours of wind and sun and the steady rumble of engines. 4 hours of Marcus's mother slowly relaxing in the sidecar, her death grip loosening, her face turning up toward the sky. 4 hours of his sister taking pictures with her phone, documenting everything, already planning how she'd explain this to her husband back in Oregon. 4 hours of Emma riding beside Marcus, close enough that he could see her smile every time he glanced her way. They stopped once, at a gas station outside of Conroe. The attendant nearly fainted when 1,600 bikers rolled in simultaneously. "We're going to need all your gas," Tiny said cheerfully, "and maybe some snacks." The poor kid just nodded and started pumping. Marcus sat on his bike, watching his brothers and sisters spread out across the station. They joked with each other, shared cigarettes, checked their phones. Normal people doing normal things, except they were Hell's Angels, and they'd ridden across 3 states for a stranger. His mother appeared beside him, moving slowly, her legs clearly stiff from the sidecar. "I can't believe this is happening," she said. "Which part?" "All of it, any of it." She looked at the sea of leather and chrome. "A week ago, I was sitting in my apartment in Florida, trying to convince myself that I'd done the right thing by leaving, telling myself you were better off without me. I wasn't. I know that now." She touched his face. "I know a lot of things now that I should have known before." "Mom." "Let me finish." Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steady. "When your father left, I swore I would never abandon you the way he did. I promised myself I would always be there, always fight for you, always put you first." She took a shaky breath. "And then you got hurt, and I broke every promise I ever made. You were scared. That's not an excuse." "No, but it's a reason." Marcus took her hand. "I was angry for a long time. At you, at Sarah, at everyone who left. But I was angry at myself too. Angry at my legs for not working. Angry at God for letting it happen. Angry at the whole world for keeping on spinning when my life had stopped. And now?" Marcus looked around. At Bull, who was buying coffee for 3 riders he'd never met before. At Emma, who was laughing with Tiny about something on her phone. At his sister, who was taking a selfie with a 7-foot biker named Crusher, who looked like he could bench press a truck. Now I think maybe it had to happen this way. Maybe I had to break completely before I could rebuild into something better. He squeezed his mother's hand. "I'm not angry anymore, Mom. I'm grateful." She started crying, soft tears that rolled down her cheeks without sound. "I don't deserve your forgiveness. That's not how forgiveness works. You don't earn it, you just accept it." Marcus pulled her into a hug, his shoulder protesting but his heart singing. "I forgive you, Mom. Now you have to forgive yourself." They held each other for a long moment. When his mother pulled back, something had changed in her face. The guilt was still there, probably always would be, but now there was something else too. Hope. I love you, Marcus. I love you too, Mom. Now. She wiped her eyes and squared her shoulders. Let's go see this hometown of yours. Houston rose out of the Texas flatlands like a promise. Marcus hadn't been back since the accident. 3 years of avoiding the streets where he used to drive, the shops where he used to work, the memories that felt like they belonged to someone else. But riding into the city now, surrounded by 1,600 brothers and sisters, with his mother and sister beside him, it felt different. It felt like coming home. Where first? Bull asked over the radio. They'd given Marcus a Bluetooth headset so he could communicate with the lead riders. Marcus thought about it. There was only one place that made sense. My uncle's shop, the place where I used to work. Address? Marcus gave it, and the procession adjusted course. They rolled through downtown Houston, past skyscrapers and sports stadiums, and all the landmarks Marcus had grown up with. People on the sidewalk stopped to stare. Phones came out. Somewhere, someone started cheering. And then they were there. Cole's Auto Repair. The sign was faded now, the parking lot more cracked than Marcus remembered, but it was still standing, still open. Pull in here, Marcus said. 1,600 motorcycles couldn't fit in the parking lot of a small auto shop, but Bull made it work, directing riders to line the streets, fill the neighboring lots, take over every available inch of space within a quarter-mile radius. By the time Marcus rolled his bike up to the front door, his uncle was already standing outside. David Cole was 57 years old, with gray hair and grease-stained hands, and a face that looked like it had been carved from Texas limestone. He'd been more father to Marcus than his real father ever was, had taught him everything about engines, about work ethic, about being a man, and Marcus hadn't spoken to him in 3 years. Uncle David! His uncle didn't say anything, just stood there, staring at Marcus on his custom motorcycle, surrounded by an army of bikers, wearing a Hell's Angels jacket with pride. What in the blue hell, David finally said, is going on here? Marcus climbed off his bike. For a moment, he forgot about the wheelchair, forgot about his legs, forgot about everything except the need to stand face to face with the man who'd raised him. Tiny was there instantly, steadying him. Bull appeared on his other side. I came home, Marcus said. I can see that. David's voice was rough. You also seem to have brought a small army with you. They're family. Family? David looked at Bull. You're Bull Harrison. I've heard of you. Good things, I hope. Not particularly, Bull smiled. Fair enough. David turned back to Marcus. 3 years. 3 years without a word, without a visit, without a damn phone call. And now you show up like this? I know. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't cover it, boy. Do you have any idea? David's voice cracked. He stopped, took a breath. Do you have any idea how many nights I sat up wondering if you were okay? How many times I drove past your apartment just to make sure the lights were on? How hard it was to watch you disappear into yourself and not know how to pull you back out? Why didn't you try? I did try. You wouldn't answer the door, wouldn't answer the phone, wouldn't let anyone in. David's eyes were wet now. I failed you, Marcus. When you needed me most, I didn't know how to reach you. You didn't fail me. Then why did you leave? Why did you run away from everyone who loved you? Marcus felt something break open inside him. The last wall, the final defense. Because I was ashamed, he whispered. Because you taught me to be strong, and I felt weak. Because I couldn't stand the thought of you looking at me in that chair and seeing everything I'd lost. That's not what I would have seen. What would you have seen? David crossed the distance between them in 3 steps and grabbed Marcus's face in both hands. I would have seen my nephew, the same kid who used to sit in my shop after school, asking questions about engines until I wanted to pull my hair out. The same kid who rebuilt his first carburetor at 12 years old and wouldn't shut up about it for a month. The same kid who had more natural talent in his pinky finger than I've got in my whole body. Tears were streaming down David's weathered face. I would have seen you, Marcus, just you. That's all I ever see. Marcus couldn't hold it together anymore. The tears came and he didn't try to stop them. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry I shut you out. I'm sorry I let you. They held each other, uncle and nephew, reunited after 3 years of silence, crying in the parking lot of a rundown auto shop while 1,600 bikers watched from the streets. Well, Bull said quietly, that's something you don't see every day. Emma elbowed him. Shush. When Marcus and David finally pulled apart, something had shifted. The air felt lighter. The distance that had grown between them over 3 years was suddenly, miraculously, gone. I have a proposition for you, Marcus said. What kind of proposition? I want to work again. I want to fix engines. I want to do what I was always meant to do. Marcus gestured at his wheelchair. I know it'll be different. I know I can't do everything I used to, but I still have my hands. I still have my mind, and I still have the gift you taught me. David stared at him. You want to come back to work? If you'll have me. If I'll have you? David laughed, a wet, broken sound. Boy, I've been keeping your toolbox in my office for 3 years. Every day I walk past it and think about all the work you'd be doing if you were here. He grabbed Marcus's shoulders. Of course I'll have you. On one condition. What? You never disappear on me again. No matter what happens, no matter how hard it gets, you talk to me. Deal? Deal. David pulled him into another hug. Welcome home, Marcus. The crowd started cheering. Not just the bikers. People had gathered from the surrounding streets, drawn by the spectacle. Hundreds of strangers, watching a family reunite, cheering like it was the best thing they'd ever seen. Because maybe it was. Bull stepped forward. I hate to interrupt, but there's one more thing we need to do. Marcus wiped his eyes. What's that? The ride isn't over yet, Bull grinned. There's a place we need to go, a place where this story ends the way it's supposed to. Where? Trust me. They rode for another hour. Marcus didn't know where they were going, but he trusted Bull, trusted Emma, trusted the 1,600 brothers and sisters who had followed him across 3 states without asking for anything in return. The sun was starting to set when they finally stopped. They were on a hilltop overlooking Houston. The city spread out below them, glittering in the fading light. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink and gold. Bull killed his engine. One by one, the other riders followed. 1,600 motorcycles went silent. Why are we here? Marcus asked. Bull climbed off his bike and walked to the edge of the hilltop. Because this is where it ends, where your old life ends and your new one begins. I don't understand. You will. Bull turned to face the crowd. Brothers and sisters, gather round. They moved like one organism. 1,600 people forming a massive circle around Marcus, their faces lit by the dying sun. Bull stood in the center beside Marcus, his voice carrying across the hilltop without amplification. A week ago, most of you didn't know this man's name. He was nobody to you. Just another stranger in a world full of strangers. Bull paused. But then he did something extraordinary. He saw a threat that trained killers missed. He moved when moving should have been impossible. He took a bullet meant for my daughter, a girl he'd never met, and almost died protecting her. The crowd was absolutely silent. Why did he do it? That's what I asked myself over and over during those 3 days in the hospital. Why would a man with nothing to gain and everything to lose throw himself in front of a bullet for a stranger? Bull turned to Marcus. And then I figured it out. What? Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. He did it because that's who he is. Not what the accident made him, not what the wheelchair represents, but who he actually is, deep down in his soul. Bull's voice cracked. Marcus Cole is the kind of man who sees someone in danger and moves, not because he's trying to be a hero, not because he wants recognition, but because he literally cannot stand by while another person suffers. Tears were flowing freely through the crowd now. Marcus could see hardened bikers sobbing, their tough exteriors crumbling in the face of Bull's words. "That's rare," Bull continued. "That's precious. That's the kind of thing most people spend their whole lives wishing they had." He turned back to the crowd. "So I made a decision. I decided that we, all of us, were going to show Marcus Cole what he's worth. We were going to ride across 3 states, gather our brothers and sisters, and show him that one moment of courage can change everything." Bull raised his hand. Someone passed him a knife. Marcus's heart stopped. "What are you doing?" "Sealing it." Bull held up the knife. "In our world, brotherhood isn't just a word. It's blood. It's commitment. It's a promise that can never be broken." He drew the blade across his palm. Blood welled up, dark and red. "Marcus Cole, I swear on my blood that you are my brother, now and forever, until the day I die and beyond." He held out his hand to Marcus. Marcus understood. His hand was shaking as he took the knife, drew it across his own palm, and gripped Bull's bloody hand. "I swear," Marcus said, and his voice didn't shake at all, "that I will be worthy of this, that I will honor this brotherhood every day, that I will never forget what you've given me." The crowd roared, but Bull wasn't done. "Emma," he called, "get up here." Emma pushed through the crowd. Her face was wet, her eyes bright. "Dad, what?" "You know what." Father and daughter looked at each other for a long moment. Something passed between them, permission maybe, or acknowledgement. Emma turned to Marcus. "I've been trying to figure out how to say this for 3 days," she said. "Ever since I watched you throw yourself in front of that bullet. Ever since I pressed my hands against your shoulder and felt your blood run through my fingers." "Emma, let me finish." She stepped closer. "I've grown up around men who think they're tough. Men who talk about courage like it's something you can earn with a leather jacket and a motorcycle. But I've never, not once, seen anyone do what you did." I just pushed my chair. "Stop saying that." Her voice was fierce. "You didn't just push your chair. You made a choice. In a split second with no time to think, you chose my life over yours. Do you have any idea how that makes me feel?" Marcus shook his head. "It makes me feel like I owe you everything, like my whole future, every breath I take, every dream I chase, every moment of happiness I ever experience belongs to you." She reached up and touched his face. "But it also makes me feel something else, something I wasn't expecting." "What?" "I feel like I found you." Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. "Like I've been looking for someone my whole life without knowing it, and then you came flying across that bar floor, and everything made sense." Marcus's heart was pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. "I'm broken," he said. "I can't walk. I don't care about walking." Emma stepped even closer. "I care about hearts. And yours is the biggest, bravest, most beautiful heart I've ever seen." She kissed him. Right there, in front of her father, in front of 1,600 bikers, in front of God and Texas in the setting sun. And Marcus kissed her back. The crowd exploded, cheering, whistling, stomping their feet until the hilltop trembled. Someone started chanting Marcus's name, and soon everyone had joined in. "Marcus! Marcus! Marcus!" When they finally broke apart, Emma was laughing through her tears. "I've been wanting to do that since the hospital." "Why didn't you?" "Because I was scared. Because I didn't know if you felt the same way. Because my dad would have killed you." Marcus looked at Bull, who was watching them with an expression that was equal parts proud and threatening. "I'm still considering it," Bull said, but he was smiling. The sun touched the horizon. Marcus looked out at the crowd, at his mother, crying and laughing at the same time, at his sister, filming everything on her phone, at his Uncle David, who had ridden out on an old Harley he'd kept hidden in the back of his shop, at Tiny and Gears and Maggie, and all the hundreds of faces he didn't know, but who had come anyway. His family, all of them. "Can I say something?" Marcus asked. Bull nodded. It's your moment, brother. Marcus turned to face the crowd. His voice was steady when he spoke. A week ago, I was invisible. I sat in a corner of a bar every night, watching life happen to other people, telling myself I didn't deserve any better. I believed I was broken beyond repair, that the accident hadn't just taken my legs, it had taken everything that made me worth knowing. He paused. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. I was wrong. His voice grew stronger. I was wrong about all of it. The accident didn't break me. It just made me forget who I was. And it took one moment, one crazy, terrifying, beautiful moment to remember. He looked at Emma, at Bull, at his mother. I'm not broken. I was never broken. I just needed to be reminded that courage doesn't require working legs, that love doesn't require perfection, that family doesn't require blood. The crowd was crying again. Marcus was crying too, and he didn't care. You came from 3 states away to show me that I matter. You built me a motorcycle so I could fly again. You gave me your blood, your brotherhood, your hearts. His voice cracked. I don't know how to repay that. I don't know if I ever can. But I swear to you, I swear on my life, that I will spend every day trying. Bull raised his fist. Brothers and sisters, start your engines. 1,600 motorcycles roared to life. The sound was thunder, was earthquake, was the voice of something ancient and powerful and alive. Marcus climbed onto his bike, the Phoenix, his Phoenix. His hands found the grips. The engine rumbled beneath him like a heartbeat. Emma climbed on behind him, her arms wrapping around his waist. Ready? She asked. Marcus looked at the sunset, at the city below, at the endless road stretching out toward the horizon. Yeah, he said, I'm ready. They rode, down the hill, through the city, past the streets where Marcus had grown up, the shops where he'd worked, the hospital where they'd told him he'd never walk again. He rode past all of it, through all of it, beyond all of it. Because Marcus Cole wasn't defined by what he'd lost anymore. He was defined by what he'd found. Love, family, brotherhood, purpose, 1,000 hearts beating as one. The sunset painted the sky in fire as they hit the highway, and Marcus opened the throttle all the way. The Phoenix surged forward, and behind him, 1,600 brothers and sisters followed. His mother was back there somewhere, still clutching Tiny's waist, still terrified but laughing now. His sister was there too, already planning her next visit, already texting her husband about everything she'd witnessed. His uncle David was riding beside them, keeping pace despite his years away from the road. And Emma was pressed against his back, her arms tight around his waist, her heart beating against his spine. Where are we going? She shouted over the wind. Marcus smiled. For the first time in 3 years, he knew exactly where he was going. Forward, always forward, into a future he'd never believed he deserved, but was finally ready to claim. The road stretched out before him, endless and full of possibility. The wind roared past his ears. The engine sang beneath him. And Marcus Cole, the invisible man who'd thrown himself in front of a bullet and found everything he'd ever needed, rode into the gathering darkness, surrounded by his family. He wasn't invisible anymore. He wasn't broken anymore. He was home, and he was never going to forget it again. The last light of the sun caught the Phoenix on his gas tank, making it glow like it was rising from real flames. Behind him, someone started to sing, an old road song, the kind that bikers had been singing for generations. Other voices joined in, rough and beautiful. Marcus didn't know the words, but he'd learned them. He had time now. He had all the time in the world, because Marcus Cole had finally learned the truth that had been waiting for him all along, that the measure of a man isn't found in what he's lost, but in what he chooses to do with what remains. And what remained in Marcus was everything that mattered: heart, courage, love, the things that couldn't be crushed in an accident, the things that couldn't be stolen by a drunk driver, the things that had been waiting, patient and quiet, for the moment when he was ready to let them out. That moment had come, and Marcus Cole rode into it with his head high, his family beside him, and the phoenix rising beneath him. This was his life now. This was his home. This was who he was always meant to be. And as the stars began to appear in the Texas sky, Marcus Cole knew, with absolute certainty, that he would never be invisible again.